Hey guys, Chris here again with some more FIFA 16 content, and this will be my last video about the 2016 NFL Draft during my live stream, and then we'll move on to the next topic. I'm really considering making a D&D character on one of these streams for you guys. If you want to, just let me know if that's something you want to see. If not, we will I'll go with some sports content until I'm comfortable with making a character, because I'd really like to do that for you guys. So you can see my steps and how I feel about 5th edition D&D. But we're going to do the best and worst drafts for this year. So I want to qualify it with... there's a lot of picks where guys were said to be, you know, developmental, boom or bust kind of guys. And those terms differentiate between people on what they mean. So... to me, the teams that have the best drafts are teams that hit talent in late rounds that, for one reason or another, have went later in rounds. So, and with that said, teams that have worse drafts are teams that go out of their way to get guys that aren't as talented as the position they're being picked at. So I was going to start with my best, because I have a lot of positive things to say about teams who don't usually get a lot of positive feedback. I think it's a consensus to everyone who watched the draft and who's done any mocks and reviews that Jacksonville by far is the team that did the best in the draft. Jacksonville is going to end the draft with, in my opinion, two of the top 3 best players in the overall draft. You can't argue with that. But also, they were able to get Sheldon Day, who is arguably going to be their starting defensive tackle, and Tyron Holmes from Montana is gonna fit right onto their roster, I think. So as far as the draft class goes, I think the best draft class that we saw this last weekend was Jacksonville. Now, we've got people being scared off by Miles Jack's possible knee injury. That just makes them look like fools, especially some of the teams that could have used a linebacker that chose different linebackers are going to look silly. But yeah, Jacksonville, I don't think there's any argument that overall they had the best draft of anyone. Now, the second best draft, in my opinion, was the Bills. I did mention on my Twitter feed and Facebook that as long as Jacksonville didn't blow up in day 3, that they were basically destined to have this best draft trophy. But the Bills drafted very well, and what they were able to accomplish was get 2 first-round talents in the first and second round, being able to draft Shaq Lawson and Reggie Ragland. Reggie Ragland was a first-round pick that slipped into the second round, and he is now a Buffalo Bill inside linebacker. There's questions about him being able to go into pass coverage, but he's a thumper. So you put him in to stop the run, you put him in to go hit the quarterback, and then you worry about your third down scenarios later. Preston Brown, who is on the roster as of this point, can do coverage. So realistically, it gives Preston Brown a spot on the roster, you know, to play if he can do coverage. So that was a good pick. Getting Cardell Jones in this draft is huge, because he's developmental, but his size is comparable to Cam Newton's. Granted, he's not Cam Newton, so don't get too excited. He doesn't have to play this year. He doesn't have to play this year at all. As far as taking quarterbacks go, the Buffalo taking him, Seattle willing to use a spot in their undrafted free agents to go get Vernon Adams, and Oakland taking Connor Cook were some of the best quarterback picks in this draft, or decisions in this draft. Now, everyone who didn't pick Vernon Adams, shame on you. Yes, he's short, but he's going to a team that already proven that the size of the quarterback doesn't matter if they're talented. But that's not a Buffalo Bills thing. Cardell Jones is huge. Decent arm. He can play in the weather. Playing for Ohio State, he knows how to play in the snow. He gets to develop. Buffalo just has to have a decent season to keep the staff together and therefore the team together. So, yeah, that was a good pick for them too. And then Jonathan Williams, the running back from Arkansas. They have Shady, LaShawn McCoy, which, yeah, he's their number one. Carlos Williams is on the roster. They have options at running back, and you never have enough running backs. He may not end up making the roster, given who's already there. But on the other hand, if he outperforms, I can see him surpassing a back or two on this roster. So yeah, Buffalo. I think it's safe to say that the first two were really easy to pick. The homers of Detroit would want me to say that Detroit had a really good draft. They had an average draft, guys. They were, if they were a high middle pack, maybe, but definitely middle of the pack. Their draft grade is roughly where they drafted, right around 16. The Decker pick still, I think, puts a little bit of a tarn. It's not Decker's fault, but I don't think he's a left tackle, and they're going to try because, according to the draft analyst, there was left tackles being drafted in the 4th and 5th round. And if you don't believe me, listen to Mel Kiper talk. He distinctly says this guy's a left tackle. Left tackles don't make it to the 4th and 5th round because it's one of the most skilled or developed, most needed skill position on the team. You're blocking the blind side of most quarterbacks. So we're not even going to be talking about them as the best or the worst. But Cincinnati did have a good draft. I'm not sold on it, but one of the things that brings it up is how late they got Andrew Billings, because Billings is a first-round talent. Now, their first pick, who's William Jackson III, was a first-round pick to people, but I don't know if he was. I don't. Pac-Man's getting older. I said during my live stream of the first round that I like the pick. It's just, they went second round and got a receiver. Yeah, they could use a receiver, but I thought maybe that would be the bigger hole to fill in the first round. And they could have moved out. But getting Billings and Westerman, the guard from Arizona State, you can't argue with the second half of it. Now, there's arguments for this third one, and I think the arguments can be made by. It depends if you're a homer or not. I live in New Mexico now, so I hear a lot about Dallas, and they're hyped on Ezekiel Elliott and Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith isn't going to play this year, despite what he says, because you're not going to risk him re-injuring it because you want to try to get him out on the field. They drafted him to redshirt him, and I can't give Dallas one of the top 3 draft classes when they passed on a linebacker who can play this year and then drafted one that can't play this year. Yes, it's a good pick in the fact that if he's redshirted and becomes half the player he was, they got a good pick, but he can't play this year. Injured players that can't play this year, second round pick, no. Now, another team that did well, and what they did was they didn't reach necessarily, was the Jets, in my opinion. Now, see, a lot of people are giving Hackenberg a lot of flack because they watched this year's college season and saw that he didn't do well, and they're going to say that he's going to get ran over in New York. He's not going to unless they fail in getting Ryan Fitzpatrick re-signed, and whoever's at quarterback does miserably. He's not playing this year. He's actually going to get a legitimate chance to learn the system and not get hit. So that was a good pick. Darren Lee in the first round, one of the best linebackers available. They went a lot of defense, which is something they needed to work on. And realistically, if I wanted to go top 5, the Jets might be a top 5 draft, despite the fact that no one likes their picks.
Nothing wrong with that tackle. In fact, it was
now,
a terrific effort.
I really could just go through all the picks of all the teams, but I'm not going to, because I think the second half of this is going to be rant heavy, because it has to do with the worst teams, the worst drafts, and the worst drafts are very simple to coordinate, and it's any team that moved up to get a quarterback. The class was down this year because of their final season in college. A lot of quarterbacks' values got manipulated pretty heavily, whether bad or good for them. I'm looking at Connor Cook specifically, who fell pretty far after being considered the year before as possibly a first overall pick. Hattenberg, same thing. It's just the climb of Carson Wentz. Golf has been up there for a while, but so the teams that moved up.
He has got the opportunity to change the tactics as well as the players.
So we have St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Denver. All moved up in the first round to go get a quarterback. Now, granted, Denver did a really good job of hitting all their other holes. The holes in the it was made comments during the draft, and it should be pointed out that as far as all the other holes that they had on their roster, Denver hit the majority of them with some decent consistency. But moving up in the first round to get Paxton Lynch, who, yeah, you could say wouldn't have been there in the second round, but that just makes the people that drafted him in the second round's draft worse.
No shots at all so far.
If Cleveland would have gotten him in the second round, Cleveland would be on my list of worst drafts, because Cleveland needs a quarterback that they can have ready for next year, and Paxton Lynch won't be ready next year either. He needs a quarterback. Mark Sanchez is probably not the quarterback you want him behind, because your fans are gonna be calling for Lynch to come in, because Sanchez is going to struggle in Denver. That just seems like it would be obvious at this point that he could do. He's going to have to manage the team where Paxton Lynch is going to come out and try to win games, and I think the fans are going to be like, well, we want the guy that's going to win games right now, despite the fact that Peyton just won a Super Bowl for us by just managing. But that's here nor there. So Paxton Lynch in the first round was a stretch. He's the third quarterback, so Denver gets less flack than the other two, because if you really thought you needed to have a first-round quarterback, he's your option. I still have an argument that Connor Cook may have been the third, or Hackenberg may have been the third. But people are looking at Lynch's skill set, and they're saying, no, his skill set makes him the third. Well, I could argue the points that Connor Cook is the most pro-ready quarterback of day 2 and 3, and that Hackenberg is not far behind him. making Paxton Lynch the third quarterback on day 2 and 3 if he made it there, but he didn't. So Denver had a bad draft. Philadelphia spent a whole bunch of picks to go get Carson Wentz.
He's got away from him.
Now, I understand that this isn't part of the draft process or part of the draft, but because of what they did, have pissed off the guy that was supposed to be starting a quarterback for them.
Attacking well here.
Is that a draft thing? Yes, it kind of is, but it isn't all at the same time. So Sam Bradford's pissed off, doesn't want to be there anymore. Now,
The manager's going to bring on a fresh player now.
no one's going to say Philly had the teams that had bad drafts, and those are the teams that went ahead and got quarterbacks early. The problem with Philadelphia is that they went up, which was a 4th rounder, I believe. They took a running back. They you know, like even if you say you're taking the best player available, you're not going to, in the 4th round, the best player available was a running back. Sorry, not the case. Given where we saw Cook fall to, you could have made the argument that if they would have stayed pat, they could have had him in the 2nd or 3rd round. And he is a cold weather quarterback from Michigan State who is pro ready. I just don't know. I just don't know if the intangibles that we're seeing from Carson Wentz is going to be that's going to grade him at the end of his career higher than Connor Cook or Hackenberg. So with that, yeah, Philly, you are officially one of the worst drafts. And the worst draft, in my opinion, is the LA Rams. Moved up for a quarterback. You moved to the 1st overall pick. You got rid of a whole bunch of draft picks. You didn't, like, Philly, for example, had draft picks from other trades, which made their team worse, mind you, because they got rid of players that could play, despite the fact that they didn't fit the system necessarily of that coach.
To keep them out, and they couldn't keep them out this time.
But the Rams traded up, and then when they were back on the board, now they went and got Goff weapons. They went and got Goff weapons. Higbee, Pharaoh Cooper, Mike Thomas, all weapons for Goff. And I can't argue with the name Pharaoh Cooper because his last name's Cooper, my last name's Cooper, so I'll root for him anyways. But, man, my camera changed again. I'm going to fix this camera issue again. But the Rams, I don't understand. You're given a lot. You have Todd Gurley, but you moved up so far to go get a quarterback.
So the first goal,
and again, if you stand pat,
another turnover here.
I mean, you can argue that Cleveland wants to take a quarterback anyways, despite who they have on their roster. But then you could also make the argument that even if Cleveland's stuck at 2, that they wouldn't have. Dallas may have taken a quarterback, but not in the 1st. And there's a lot of ands if or buts brought into that conversation. But the Rams, I think, was very apparent, had given what they had to give up to get to the 1st overall pick, addressing mostly offense just to have weapons for their new quarterback. And then almost immediately after they drafted Goff, they put both of their other, Case Keenum and Nick Foles, on the trade block. So they're saying that they're expecting Goff to go in almost immediately. Because if they trade both, which, let's be honest, they may not be able to do, they could be. I don't think there's a team that's leaving the draft going, yeah, we really didn't hit a quarterback because late rounds there was the quarterbacks there. Dak going to Dallas, I think was one of the better quarterback picks. He gets to sit behind Tony Romo, who wants to play another 5 years still. He may not be able to play another 5 years, but he's going to be able to sit behind Tony Romo and learn. And if he fails when Romo retires, he'll be in his contract year. So, given that he gets a 5-year deal, he won't get a 5-year deal. Never mind. He'll probably get a 3-year deal. But still, a good fit. He's athletic enough, and developing his accuracy and passing game is just could make it very dangerous in that offense. But yeah, I think the Rams fell on their face. It's like their scouts have to be able to go and tell the coaches, no, this is a down year for quarterbacks. You're not getting the kind of quarterback that you would normally get in one of these drafts. Like the top couple quarterbacks are usually, Pro Bowl material, starting quarterback, franchise guys. These guys, I could see all of them struggling. And even that, with the positive things I said about Connor Cook and even Vernon Adams, who didn't get drafted but is now in Seattle, that this class, there are some upside players in this draft for quarterback, but I don't think anyone can go and say that there isn't a scenario where these guys fail. And yeah, that's like, well, yeah, any quarterback could fail, right? But these guys they got overdrafted. Expectations are going to be way higher than what their reality talent is. So, you just feel that that's going to be the doom of it. Now, how about some drafts that, despite the fact that they started off, like, let's just talk about some drafts for picks that I was upset about that could make the team one of the worst, but certainly not a guarantee of them being the worst, because they may have either saved themselves or they have a decent roster already, and that's San Diego. Yeah, I've done the Joey Bosa argument like 5 videos in a row, but Joey Bosa was not the 3rd overall pick in this draft. Like, he was the 3rd overall pick because that's what happened, but he's not the 3rd best player in this draft, and San Diego had an opportunity to take any of the best players in this draft. Joey Bosa is going to be non-existent against great talent. He's going to be minuscule against good talent, and he is going to be average against average talent. It's only going to be against teams who are lacking in pass support that he's going to look good against. And that's just matchup against a lineman. If the teams that are struggling have him double, if he's double teamed, you'll never hear him. I don't think this was a good pick for San Diego. I don't think this was a good pick for Joey Bosa, because now he's the 3rd expected to be. This pick actually screams of Deion Jordan to me, because he was overdrafted, and in the right scheme, in the right position, in the right scenarios, he may have been all right, but not in the scenario he was drafted to. If Deion Jordan was to make it to another roster, make a team, I think, didn't he get moved? He might have been moved. I think he could show a revival, but I don't know. The reason why San Diego isn't one of the worst teams is because of what they were able to do in the 2nd round and 3rd round. The 2nd round, they got Hunter Henry, who, in my opinion, is a 1st-round talent. So, overdrafting Joey Bosa downgrades their overall to me. But being able to go get a 1st-round talent, Hunter Henry, upgrades it. So they took a step back to take a step forward.
The Barclays Premier League.
So they fall more towards the middle of the pack. Unfortunately for them, they drafted third. So them falling to the middle of the pack means that they had a bad draft, but not bad enough to where they went out of the way to draft the guy that wasn't going to be a first-round pick. Joey Bosa's a first-round pick, but they overdrafted him. I hope everyone understands the difference between overdrafting a quarterback because of all the stuff they had to give up, and overdrafting a guy by staying still, and how that makes them not one of the worst drafts, but a draft I didn't like. Now, I think it was the Giants. I'm gonna go look real quick. Yeah, the Giants. Eli Apple at 10. Eli Apple was a middle of the first round, late first round pick. So you stretched for him. Now, and here's the thing. Scheme-wise, the rest of their draft is really good. Now, you could say, well, Eli Apple fits their scheme too. Yeah, but they stretched for him. So, yes, they fit their schemes, which is what this draft ended up being. A lot of the analysts made points to this, and I concurred, and when I was watching, I made the comment that teams are ignoring prospect boards from scouts and basically going, well, this guy does this in this defense or in this offense, and that fits our scheme, and we are looking for guys that fit our scheme. And in some instances, ignoring talent to get scheme guys. And I think that's what the Giants did here. The Giants draft is basically an homage to scheme over talent, because they think they can coach up the guys. Their pick of Sterling Shepard does benefit them in the sense that Odell Beckham is going to see. They're going to have to pay attention to Shepard because he's a burner. So if they can have Cruz and Odell Beckham and Shepard on the field all at the same time, they're presenting a hard case scenario for teams. But
back it goes to the
their pass rush. Who did they draft that helps their pass rush? Let's be honest. They signed JPP to a 1-year deal. Unless he shows that he can play with his hand all jacked up, he won't be back. So, it's and yes, I am directly correlating the Giants' entire pass rush to JPP in his one hand. I'm trying to glaze over the argument because I don't want to discuss the fact that they went out and paid way too much for all the free agents that they did, because I already discussed that. I don't talk about it in length because it's obvious that they spent way too much money. And they ultimately are just going to pay for it when the season comes. Do I think that they upgraded a position or two? Yeah. Janoris Jenkins is an upgrade over Prince Amukamara because there's no durability questions on Jenkins. Jacksonville may have, may be in a scenario where they overpaid for Prince, but given the draft they had, if he does stay up on his feet, Jacksonville has a contention for why they can't be this year's Carolina. I wouldn't argue with it. I like their draft. I like their young team. If not this year, a couple years, they're going to be competing, and that'll be good for the South, because I think Houston made a horrible decision on letting Brock be their starting quarterback. He's not ready. He's not ready to be a starting quarterback. He will fail, and I think he's going to fall on his face. I could be wrong, but again, I'm an ASU fan in college, and I just don't see that readiness yet. And he showed that he can do it a little bit in Denver, but then you saw some of the downsides on it too. Tennessee's going to be up and coming. DeMarco Murray, being a fan of the Derrick Henry pick makes me happy. Tyler Lewin being a little bitch about having to play left tackle makes me sad about the Conklin pick, I think is who they made. I'm not a right tackle. You're whatever the team says you are. And if you don't move to right tackle, you won't be playing for Tennessee. Now, that might be his out anyways, because realistically, with a right-handed quarterback, the right tackle is a position that you can put a different guy in. So, you know, they could just admit to Taylor Lewin being a bad pick and move on from him. But I think we're going to come to find that he's going to move to right tackle and have to keep his mouth shut. But it's speaking more to the poor player that thinks that they earned the position because they were drafted there. It just screams of Sam Bradford and his issues in Philadelphia. You know, you guys aren't guaranteed shit. Go out and earn the position. And, you know, Lewin, you have enough here, because I don't know if Tennessee wants to push Conklin into left immediately, but they're going to want to. So if you go out there and have a good year, you keep your position, and now you guys have a formidable left and right tackle combination. But if you're going to whine and complain that, well, I'm not a right tackle, and then argue about being there, they'll fucking move you. You'll be gone. You will go to another team who in a year or 2 years will do the same thing. Your draft class for left tackles wasn't that great. Acknowledge it. You know, like, the left tackle is one of the hardest positions to draft, because scouts and GMs and coaches see the best athlete on the offensive line go to left tackle. And more often than not, if they're a tackle at all, they're right tackles. But most of the time, those are guys getting kicked into guard, because they're the best athlete for that team, but they're not the best athlete on the pro team, or best offensive line athlete. So you're seeing a lot of teams struggle with, well, he played left tackle in college, there's no reason he can't play left tackle in the pros. Well, he knows how to be a left tackle in college, but he doesn't play a left tackle in pros. A lot of the tackles taken in this draft are going to get kicked inside before their career's over. Most of the tackles in this draft are right tackles. I think Tunson is really the only guaranteed left tackle day one starter. And Miami got a steal. I don't care about the pitcher. I don't. For anyone who didn't watch, there was a picture posted of him with a bong connected to a gas mask during the first round. During the first round of the draft. Hadn't been publicized until the first round of the draft. And you watch the guy go from realistically could have been the 3rd overall pick to 13 to Miami. Now 10 spots isn't that big of a deal. 10 spots happens. You know, Rodgers fell 23 or 22 or however you want to look at it. That happens. Here's ultimately the problem is it goes back to my government argument I had in one of my first videos. Marijuana shouldn't be illegal to begin with, but the Lions GM summed it up pretty easily. If he was going to red flag all the players that smoked pot in college, half of the list would be ineligible for him to draft. Half the list. Now, in the scenario of what you're looking at for this draft class, there were bigger issues than smoking pot. There was assault. People are charged with assault. People are charged with robbery.
Restarting at 2-0.
But Tunsil is still a first-round pick. Obviously, he got drafted by Miami. But shame on whoever decided that pitcher had to go up during the first round. Teams knew about it. had to have known about it before that day.
We've got a corner here that could pose some problems.
Oh, hey, J Swag Gaming. Sure, you can add me to the my PSN is Detron, Detron.
Middle of the goal. It's a decent
thanks. Welcome to gaming. Swag, did you happen to watch any of the NFL draft this weekend? And if you did, please give me comments. But I'll go back to my arguments. We saw assault charges. We saw robbery charges. There was a young man who had an admitted addiction to ecstasy. And then we had Tunsil smoke pot. Now, granted, because he smoked pot, you could assume that he did more stuff. Okay. But we have no other evidence of him doing that. So, and it's interesting that we hear about him smoking pot, and he just so happens to be teammates with Robert Condici. J-Swag, absolutely. Go ahead. It bothered me how that was handled. And I'm not the only one. Obviously, there was articles put up, but I was angry. I was angry during the draft about it. It was just, it was covered up by the fact that the Lions picked 3 picks later, and I was disappointed with their pick as well. This draft was interesting because of the depth of the defensive line. It allowed a lot of first-round talent to slip out of the first round, obviously. Now, it also didn't help that there was teams that drafted guys that weren't first-round talent in the first round. Green Bay had me scratching their head with their first-round pick. As a Lions fan, when they drafted the defensive tackle from, what was it, UCLA? I believe that was their defensive tackle that they drafted. Who I didn't have as a first-round talent. I didn't have as a early second-round talent. So I'm looking at it going, why in the world is he being drafted here? I just want to find their draft class real quick. Let's see. Is this... J-Swag, my PSN is Detron. Dettron. I think that should be it. If that's not it, I'm sorry, I don't know what you need. Why don't you just give me yours and I could figure it out? I don't know. Anyways, looking for Green Bay's draft. Yeah, okay, so Kenny Clark, defensive tackle, UCLA, as I said. Didn't have him as a first round, didn't have him as early second. They did get Spriggs in the second round, which is decent, so I'm not upset. And they got Fackrell, the outside linebacker, and Blake Martinez. So they had a good draft, but their first pick, don't understand. I'm not scared. I'm not necessarily scared by their draft as a Lions fan. Chicago, with Floyd, I'm scared. Floyd is a great talent, and I think that he could be a possibility for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go to Chicago's draft. Yeah, and they also got Cody Whitehair in the second round, and I had Cody going in the first round in my mock, so I was happy for Chicago fans because that's 2 good first round picks, or two first round possibilities, 1 and 2. But ultimately, they addressed the defense, and their offense does have some issues. They did draft a running back, I think. I'm fairly certain. Okay, Jay Swag, right after this game, man, I'll hit you up, okay? I'll give you the acceptance and stuff. Did you watch the draft this weekend, Jay Swag? Did you watch Game of Thrones yesterday? Oh man, Game of Thrones, NFL draft. What else? What else happened? Playoff basketball. There's some good baseball games. There was some good soccer. I actually got to watch Southampton play a little bit this weekend. Not long, because it was a Sunday. and I didn't want to spend another day in front of the television, so it wasn't a whole bunch, but I did get to see Southampton play. But I guess since I brought it up, I might as well talk about it a little bit. That concludes the draft review until anyone brings up anything in the chat about it. But Game of Thrones, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones episode 2 of this season, please, this is going to be a spoiler. A couple of them, actually. Jon Snow is back. Game of Thrones producers apologize to Kit Harington fans already because they quote-unquote lied. You didn't lie to him. Jon Snow was dead. If you said Jon Snow is not coming back, that also could not be a lie if the personality of Jon Snow is altered in any way by the resurrection. So, but Jon Snow's back. Bruce Bolton is dead. Ramsay kills him. The Ironborn King is dead. Euron Greyjoy kills him. Theon Greyjoy decides he's going to try to leave Sansa Stark and her new and Brienne to go on his own. I don't think that's a smart choice, but if you've read the books, please. I don't mind getting the spoilers because I like the show enough to watch it with spoilers. But if that's related to the book on him leaving, please just let me know. I'm fine with that. It was a good episode. Tyrion released the 2 dragons that were in captivity, and he didn't get killed, so that was exciting. I like his story about his uncle and him about wanting a dragon, and even if it was little like him, I thought that was really touching. It was a good story to go into. And then obviously the levity of him making a joke at the end about, if I ever have a decision like that again, punch me in the face. That was funny. That was legitimately funny. I laughed out loud. I want to see what Jon Snow is going to do with the people who ganked him at the end of last season. I kind of want to see what happens if the Boltons move on the wall and see, if they move on Castle Black and and then the Wildlings are there. Jon Snow is resurrected, and they now know that there's a possibility that he can always be resurrected. Melisandre's now gonna have gotten some confidence back. Yeah, that's just gonna be interesting. I hope Ramsay gets ran over at the wall. That would be great. But speaking of redemption, Arya finally is going to be able to go into the House of Black and White again. The girl has no name. The girl has no name. I think that's the only thing that we need to say about that. The girl has no name. It's a great story. Her getting her ass kicked a couple times, and then ultimately coming to being able to come back in the house again. Her vision is going to be restored at some point. I don't necessarily know it'll be the next episode. We didn't see anything from Khaleesi this week. I mean, she's supposed to be going to the widow's home. But I think the dragons being released are going to tie into that. Again, I don't know because I don't read the books. So, again, if you know spoilers, I'm okay with that. Let me know. I want to give another shout out to Ray44, who is on my live stream during the NFL draft and talked me through some of the soccer transactions, and now I understand a little bit more about how transfers work and a little bit about seeding when it comes to Champions League and whatnot. So another shout out to Ray44. But I guess we're at a point now where if you have any questions about anything, life in general, sports, video games, fantasy, D&D, TV shows, just put them up in comments or in the live stream, and we'll discuss them as we go along. I'm interested to see what happens on this week's Supernatural, another show that I'm a big fan of. We
Tried to keep it, but they haven't been able to do that.
we hit the Chitters episode. I feel like was a one-off. It was obviously a one-off, but it's starting to show the boys. I'm going to call them boys. Jared and Jansen, Dean and Sam's desires to retire at some point. They just want to get to a point where there's a conclusion so they can walk away, and you can see it in both their faces when they leave the other two hunters at the end of last episode, that they wish they had that, and they weren't going to pull these guys back in. They weren't going to pull them back in just to risk them getting killed. So it's a great story. I'm still very, very interested in possibly seeing God in this season as Chuck, the author of the books that were basically telling at-moment facts about the Winchesters. I really suspect that he is God, but we'll see. It would be very interesting if it would offer them a way to talk about there being a next season, because if you bring God, you're ultimately basically putting the cap on it all. But what if it's not that? What if it's God is trapped in Chuck's body, and he's not hiding, he's been trapped, and there was some kind of magic capable of putting away even God, and then that's who they introduce as like the major villain of next season, or don't introduce God at all this season, and continue to have the darkness be a threat going into the beginning of next season. It's tough. It's a tough decision to make, because you want them to conclude it because you want to see the next big storyline, but I don't think they've done enough with it yet to make it. I think Castiel needs to be in his own suit again, his meat suit again, before the people who make Supernatural should move along in showing God and concluding the story with the darkness. I'm having a lot of fun watching Misha Collins be Lucifer. It's nice to see him be able to have a personality. The angel, him as Castiel, is a great fit. His voice is very angel-esque anyways, or at least the voice he does for it is very angel-esque. But I do appreciate him as Lucifer and letting him get to wild out a little bit. But yeah, so Supernatural, Game of Thrones topics. I'm still having a lot of fun with both shows. Game of Thrones, because it's just started up again for the season, is probably a topic that people would want to hit if they're interested. NBA basketball. Steph Curry. I haven't talked about Steph Curry since he hurt his knee. I've been doing a lot of the NFL since he hurt his knee. He hurt his knee in the first round against the Rockets. He didn't play game one last night against the Trailblazers, I think, or 2 nights ago against Trailblazers. He wanted to start doing basketball activities the day after the game. He wants to play in game 2 if he can. There's Golden State shows no reason to have to play him. Again, if they give up a game to the Trailblazers, that'll be the only game they give up. So, I don't know. I'm not necessarily worried about Steph Curry playing anytime, immediately. Oklahoma City got their butt torn into by San Antonio. It was a 32-point loss in round 2. Oklahoma City didn't look like they were going to be making it in the second round. They were struggling in the first round, It makes sense. I don't know if I don't want to say Kevin Durant is distracted about free agency, but because Kevin Durant's just a great player. But man, there might be some distraction there, maybe. Let's see. The Lakers hired Luke Walton as their coach. That could come back to bite them, because Luke Walton didn't really have to coach the team that's on Golden State, as the second half of the season showed when Steve Kerr came back.
Leicester City 0.
What did they do? They didn't really do anything. All right, so I'm going to go to my PlayStation Network, and I'm going to come up here to my notifications, and super fan club or friends list or what have you. You're one of the few, the proud. Oh, and I got a message. I'm sorry, guys. This is probably not what you want to see on a stream, but I'm excited. It made my day, so I'm gonna go back to the game now. All right. So
climbing the table are Newcastle
United
with 20 points.
Luke Walton didn't really have to do much on the bench for Golden State. I don't know if he's young, so if he doesn't succeed, he can rebound from it. And he's a coach. I mean, he wasn't like he retired and then came and started coaching the next season. Derek Fisher, I believe. So yeah, give him a shot. He's got, I think the Busses, who are the owners of the Lakers, are going to have to give him a transfer offer. Let's go look at the transfer offer. Sporting CP. I don't want to make the money. I like playing the team I'm on. I'm going to reject the offer. I'm going to confirm it. Unless my team decides to move me there, I'm going to stay for Southam. But the Busses are going to have to be really patient, because they're going to have to put a whole bunch of shit together. Kobe's retiring. I don't know if their big man situation with Roy Hibbert is solved. Julius Randle's a decent player. Nick Young can't come back because of the issues they had with their young point guard there. How do I feel about that necessarily? Here's the thing. Nick, don't cheat. And if your boy there was in the wrong because you didn't cheat, but he was just blowing up your spot, then come out and say that, and then fix it. But if you cheated, don't cheat. That's just, if you did cheat, shame on you. You got caught. Go fuck yourself. Like, that's the end of the conversation. Sports players who cheat get in trouble. In this scenario, you're not getting in trouble with the league. You're getting in trouble with your girl, and your girl, could end you. So, Nick, don't make silly mistakes like that. That's if you're that far along where you're, getting engaged and wanting to be married to this person, and you're still straying, you're not ready to get married or be engaged. And this is coming from a married man. I love my wife more than anything in the world. I would never stray from her. Ever. There'd never be a scenario you could present. And for any of you guys that think that you could present a celebrity, let me remind you that I don't like celebrities like most people like celebrities. I don't go, oh, they're so attractive because they're No. My wife is the most attractive woman I've ever seen. Celebrities are people, and they're talented in their skills, their crafts. If they're athletes, they're good at being athletes. If they're actors, they're good at being actors. Their goodness of being sexually attractive? No. My wife is the most beautiful person I've ever seen. And shame on any of you men who think otherwise in this scenario. So, yeah, Nick, you just got to keep it in your pants, bro. And you can't be... If you're mad because your teammate's the one that blew you up, you would have been caught eventually. And then who are you going to blame? Now, it's interesting that...
just saunter out and pick that up.
Man, this is bringing up really old topic, and you know it's kind of the thing that did tarnish Kobe for a little bit. But remember when Kobe cheated on his wife? Now, granted, there was other accusations around it that it was maybe not necessarily consensual, but there was still cheating. He had to go buy a big ass ring, and to make up for it. And I think Nick, you might be in a similar boat, sir. But I hope all goes well. I hate to see bad things happen to people, even if bad things happen to people because they made bad decisions. I don't like people being sad. So, but the Lakers need a lot of help. Walton's going to have an uphill battle, but they're in a market that could attract some decent free agents. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Let's see, baseball news. I talked about the Arrieta no in one of my videos. It hasn't got watched at all. I understand it wasn't topic friendly for everyone. But what about Chicago having at one point last week, Chicago's AL team and NL team, the White Sox and the Cubs, were the best two teams in baseball. That's great. Great for Chicago. Just hosted the draft, had a decent draft. Have two really good baseball teams going into the season. It would be amazing to see both teams make the playoffs. I don't have the Cubs winning the World Series. I think the Mets look really good this year. The Mets, wow. Thor is, I have a trouble saying his last name, Singergarden. He's having a great year. A lot of flack about, burning him out. And I think it showed yesterday against the Giants. He got beat up pretty hard. Give up 3 runs in 6 innings or 5 in the third or something like that. Yeah, but it's his first bad outing. He was 4-0 beforehand. Like, he's having a good year. DeGrom having a good year. Hope everything with his, I believe his son is all right as a father who had an issue when baby was born. Hopefully DeGrom's child is fine and everything's okay. They just look really good. Pitching, their staff is deep. Neil Walker is playing outside of his mind right now on offense. They could have a run. David Wright has to stay healthy for it to happen, and maybe they make a trade at the deadline for more relief help, but they don't necessarily need to. I don't think. I think they're all right now. So yeah, I'll take the Mets this year for the World Series. Who are they playing? I have no idea. I mean, it would be easy to say the Astros.
Well, you could see what they were trying to do. Just
I don't know. Toronto swinging it. They swing a hot bat. Toronto could be interesting. I don't think the Yankees are gonna do it. If they can even make the playoffs, I don't necessarily know they can make a run. They're not the teams of the late 90s and early 2000s. There are very obviously flaws on this roster. And Yeah, I don't know. I know the Yankees don't go through coaches as quick as other teams, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do well this year if Girardi is either on a hot seat next year or fired. Now, that means the Orioles have to stay hot and win the division again, or Boston has to. I don't know. It would be a great song for David Ortiz if Boston could go to the playoffs, maybe even win a couple of games. Get to the series would be even better. I'm sure he would want to leave on a World Series. Not a lot of players get the Peyton Manning treatment where they get to win a Super Bowl and then walk out. But a lot of people want that. So we shall see, I guess. But yeah, I guess, you know, I don't talk about UFC a lot, but this Conor McGregor thing's kind of interesting. About, like, he retires a month before he's supposed to get his rematch for the belt. And Dana White's response is basically tell Diaz, hey, you're not main eventing this match anymore. So my understanding is it's kind of like boxing in UFC, where, you know, you get more money the more money that's brought in for the bout, and you're going to tell me Diaz that he's not. I don't even think he's on the card. So, well, obviously he wouldn't be on the card if he's the champion, and he's not. They're not going to short him on time. I mean, they could have asked him if he would have been okay with being shorted, but they replaced the match. I think McGregor is going to come back quick. He's not going and acting and shit like that. Like, what else does he do? You know, like, he's gonna come back to UFC quicker than people expect. No one retires when it comes to sports like that. Boxing and UFC are kind of the same, where people could say they're going to retire, and then 6 months, a year from now, they get bored and they want to fight again. And then it's just another story they get to tell. You know, the comeback story of Conor McGregor. But, yeah, I think he's looking for more money. The problem is I don't know if he necessarily gets a rematch now. I guess you could say he could get a rematch, but you should see so Jay Slag's already got a request for Plants vs. Zombie. Jay Slag, that's not how this works here, man. I'm gonna live stream FIFA. Probably this may be the last game in the stream, but I'm gonna live stream FIFA, and then maybe I'll come over to a Plant vs. Zombie. I don't have it, but normally I just stream the FIFA game, talk about sports, and I'm off until Wednesday on videos. Until I get the show, which I'm sorry, guys. I know that it's a lot longer because you got guys that get to show the day it's released or get pre-releases or stuff like that, so you get to see a lot of content early. But I'm going to be bringing you 3 different streams on the show, so I hope to make up for it with decent content once I get it. Again, first guy you're going to see is a pitcher, and then you're going to see a catcher, and then you're going to see a middle infielder, maybe a utility guy, I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna show 3 guys because I still want to do my 3 guy. Figure out which team I'm going to follow in baseball. Maybe that'll be who I pick for the World Series. Even though it could be, the Marlins. And I don't think the Marlins compete this year. Stanton's looking like a beast, hitting the ball farther than any man should ever be able to hit a ball. So that's cool. But, yeah, I don't think Miami's competing this year. So if that's the case, probably not. Again, we'll do this jerseys in the MLB. I like Arizona's jerseys. Everyone's giving them flack about their jerseys. I like their jerseys. I like Houston's. I like Baltimore's because they're orange, and I'm an orange. I like orange. I've always liked Oakland's. The green and yellows are good jerseys. San Francisco's alternate because it's orange. I can't wear the alternate all the time though, so I mean that's kind of takes away from it. But I don't like the old jerseys. I know Bobby Crosby. He does MLB content. He also does a really good softball series, on and off season softball. Watch some of those games. He's got these kids. I don't know how he organizes these kids to play, but you can see a lot. You can sense a lot of positive energy off him with these kids. It's really nice to watch. But he does content. He likes the old jerseys. He likes the Red Sox jerseys, Yankees jerseys, the Cubs jerseys. I like the Cubs jerseys now. I wasn't a big fan of it when it was pinstripe. Like the straight blue. I guess it would be their home jerseys would be the white ones. I like the blue ones. But I'm also super interested to see what my farm league is going to look like. And
now he's looking for support.
In that scenario, now that I live in New Mexico, I'm pretty close. I think that the Chihuahuas are a triple A affiliate to one of the teams down here. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna get right on here and look up because that might actually be a team I get to go watch. So that could be an interesting if my major league affiliate to the Chihuahuas were one of the teams I got to choose from.
Ball's loose. Goalkeeper made the save, but he couldn't hold it. That's a good idea with the pass.
I looked down at my phone and my guy is dribbling it in the box. Look at me. I'm so good at this game. And I screwed up. That's alright though. Guys, having a killer season. El Paso Chihuahuas. That might be the Dodgers. No, it's not the Dodgers affiliate. Who are they the affiliate to? Maybe the Giants? Who is the El Paso Chihuahuas? The Padres. They're the affiliate to the Padres. Cool. I can't. I know in other baseball games, not the show, but in other baseball games, I was a big fan of the Padres military jerseys. Former military person myself, I like the camo look. It was cool. It's just another thing though that like I can't wear those every week. Now their newer jerseys, the navy blues with the silver or silverish, aren't bad. It's just
real good contest between these.
We'll see. It's gonna be interesting. I like a lot of different players from a lot of different teams, though. So there's not a lot of teams that would disappoint me if I'm drafted to. Because lowly teams that are on the bottom still have players that I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah, we don't always get what we expect, but
who is it? Sport Gaming Universe is a Minnesota fan, and I remember watching one of his live streams just before Minnesota won their first game. And he was disappointed in the year because of the guys weren't playing up to their potential. And then they won a couple games in a row. I'm interested to see what he feels about that, how that team's going now. So, Sports Gaming Universe, Bobby Crosby. If either of you guys ever see these videos, just Bobby, more about the jerseys, and congrats on Bobby Crosby hitting his 100th home run in 100th episode, and his Babe Ruth series is going very well too. And talk to me about these old school jerseys and what. I mean, I understand that you like them because they're old looking, the older jerseys, but what new jerseys are you a fan of? And Sports Gaming Universe, I'm sorry, I don't know your name outside of that. I guess that's probably why you put up Sport Gaming Universe. As a Twins fan, is it can't be as hard as it was when you were 0-4, 0-9, 0-10, whatever, struggling. There's got to be some levity. You got to suspect that your team's going to struggle a little bit, being that they struggled last year. But they don't have. They do have Joe Mauer, and they're young, so don't get too disappointed right away. Who else? What? I've been watching a lot of the show, so Sports Gaming Universe, Bobby Crosby. I watched Benny No. I saw Benny. I was watching Bobby's Dodger film, like from the game. Which, if you watch Bobby Crosby's stuff, you find out that he got told he couldn't film the games anymore because he didn't have written permission to do so and whatnot. And but you see Benny No in those videos, and he's also in the softball series. He has a show character or two. There's a hockey one. To play hockey or 2H to play hockey, who does Twitch stream that he puts on YouTube. He's got a second baseman going right now, and a is it Toke that has the? There's a bunch of guys. I mean, obviously, this is one of those games that you put out content. People are watching it. A lot of different people watch a lot of different guys. And hopefully someday, when I get the game, people will watch me play it too. I don't know. I'm liking my setup though for it. You can't see my face. I don't want you guys to see my face. You don't need to see my face to be able to understand my emotions. I will explain my emotions to you. I'm not a complicated person. I'm live streaming the games, so you guys are seeing all of my content. You're seeing all of my mistakes, all my errors. There's no reason not to. If you don't like watching the live streams or watching long videos like that, you don't have to. But, you know, I didn't want to put out 1 and 2 games and make 30-minute videos, or try to play one game and get a 15-minute video. You know, yes, I understand mathematically for success on YouTube, that's what you do. I've already watched and looked into that all that stuff, where 15-minute videos are the most lucrative videos because attention spans and whatnot. I don't care about that, guys. I want to make good video. I want to put out content. It gives me an opportunity to talk, whether anyone's listening or not. Yeah, I don't care. I'm happy just putting it out. If people watch it, people watch it. I know my mom was watching it. Mom, I heard you. I talked to her earlier this week, or late last week, and it was brought to my attention that she has watched my draft videos. 32-year-old man excited about mom watching draft videos. But she made a comment that despite the fact that, I mean, she's a Bills fan. She watches it with her boyfriend. She's not a like diehard, but she cheers. But she was excited to hear her son say that the Bills had a decent draft. You know, I gave a lot of my family flack growing up because I never said they did anything well. But yeah, so that was cool getting to find out that she watched it. I would be super interested to see what my dad's opinion on the videos are, because he is a nut, a sports nut, and to see if he agrees or disagrees with any of my decisions or opinions or anything like that. I got a couple of friends back home. I'm interested in their opinions too. But again, I'm not pushing anyone on it. It's just, it was interesting that my mom said she was watching them. So, yeah. But as far as soccer's going, again, I apologize. I just recently in this video realized that I didn't upgrade my difficulty. I had promised you guys 2 videos ago I was going to do that, and I hadn't. Someone wants to remind me in the comments for next time, because I might forget again. I have a lot of fun scoring a lot of goals and being the best player in the world. So I get, you know, that blinds me to the challenge of it all. See, look how good my guy is. Yeah, I'm shooting it right at the goalie, but I was doing that before. I don't care. Gangster like that. But yeah, well, this will be the last game of this video. I think I only got 3 games in this week, or this video, but that's fine. Don't want to make. I do want to make longer videos when there's events like the draft, or you know, maybe others drafts, or maybe there's a sports game that I'm watching that I wouldn't mind streaming through, like during the NFL season. I might do something like that. But yeah, life's good. Stuff's good. My wife is doing a little bit of side project with one of the doctors she knows down here. Very interesting. She's so smart. She's going to have an opportunity to improve herself even more, and she always wants to, so that's great. My son's enjoying school, big fan. He got to see a little girl at school today who didn't want to be there, and he was confused by that because he loves going. So, you know, it's life's good, guys. I'm, you know, not where I want to be as a person, but we're getting there. Everything's going to turn out all right. Can't argue. Can't argue with these scores either. This game, 6-0, 5-0, killing it. I'll really try to remember next time to put up the difficulty again, but we're just going to get to the point where I'm going to be at the hardest difficulty and still scoring like a madman because I'm going to make the guy that good. Or not. Who knows? I mean, this is already season 2. Maybe I play a couple more seasons and then we move on to a different game. Maybe baseball kind of takes over because of all the content I want to put up for baseball. But, you know, either way, who cares? Who cares? We're just going to have fun with it. We're just going to play the games. We're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about over whatever game we're playing. I don't have training that I can do before the end of this video because I have a game coming up in 2 days. Guys, still at 82. I didn't train at all this video. Maybe next video I start with training too. Maybe I'll do that. But we got if you look in the news right here, Foster pledges loyalties to Southam. So I don't know if that's a new guy to us or if that's a guy that's turned down a move, but I would assume because it was part of the transfers and whatnot were being offered out, that guy's coming to play for us. So that's cool. So yeah, guys, if you watch this, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at awkwardrunner, OCKWARD. I put posts up about just about everything that's going on in the world. You can leave comments, let me know what you got to what I could do to make you guys happy as far as content. And I live stream Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, usually 8 o'clock Mountain Time, which is 10 o'clock East Coast. I have to know that transfer because I'm from the East Coast originally, so if you want to catch up on me there, or yeah, like I said, get me on Twitter. Have a good day, guys.